we are undeniably further down the road toward useful artificial intelligence in some pretty novel use cases than we were a year ago, 2 years ago. I remember the first time,
100%.
Jeremy, the first time I ever saw DALL-E, I thought, this is voodoo. I mean, I'm doing this myself. Are you kidding me? And now I look back, I'm like, oh boy, that's so juvenile. What I thought was so game changing.
Yeah.
But to me, it was almost magic.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, we could go on forever about it. I do want to talk Integrity Edge.
That's it.
You don't just, we're going to put it in the details of the podcast. We'll actually have a link to Amazon, Goodreads, etc. People can go there. Well, you're thinking about the concept of Integrity Edge. It seems like this is such a no-brainer. Good leadership should be ethical. They should be honest, etc. They should have integrity. But as you've probably found out in your career, it's probably why you wrote the book, but I want to hear about it. Like, what was the genesis or throughout your career that led you to finally do it? Because I doubt it was just one moment you woke up and go, I have an idea. I'm sure it was just this cumulative effect that brought it to that. If you can speak to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some tactical reasons why I wanted to write the book. But the first time anybody asked me that specific question, like in a conversation like this, I said, what made you, you didn't just have this free time sitting around. What made you sit down and do the work? And the answer came with not even thinking about it. I said, I think it was 25 years of disappointment. I'll color that in a little bit. It was seeing around me as I went through the different roles, this, I'm going to say tendency, but it's stronger than a tendency, almost a rule where the early and mid-career managers were closer to their teams. They were more plugged in. They had the pulse of their teams. They tended to be more servant leader type leaders. Not universally, but they tended to be more so. Then as you go closer to the boardroom, as you go up the echelons, they become more and more disconnected, less and less servant, likely to be servant, more and more self-serving or personal mission serving. But as you went up the chain, they were different. Like, again, not completely, but to a high degree. The folks at the top couple rungs of the organization, they were more self-serving. And it was frustrating because I was convinced, and I hadn't proven it early in my career, and I'm going to argue that I have proven it since, that it doesn't have to be that way. That you can be a successful leader of people and not have to compromise your character, your integrity, your personal values to do it. You can lead in your authentic way, if that authentic way is, sort of a people first, kind of service first kind of approach. You can lead that way and be successful in the long run. It's just not the default condition. The default condition, this is going to sting. The default condition in corporate America is compromise. I have an idea. I feel strongly about it. But the boss says that if I want to do such and such, then I got to do such and such. Right. And so it's not this giant compromise where tomorrow you walk into the office and the boss says, hey, if you want a promotion, I need to go rob this bank. That's not how it works. Right. It's tiny little one on top of another, compromise on compromise on compromise. And before you know it, you've been promoted 3 times and you don't resemble the person who was an early career leader. And it just happened. And so I do a couple of things. I say that for the people that are able to grow their career with character, with integrity, there's an edge where the title came from. There's a competitive advantage that you can only get if you've made that commitment and made through your actions, continue growing your career. And this is the edge, that when you have shown yourself trustworthy, when you have shown yourself honest, and when you've shown yourself to be the person you purport to be, then this amazing thing happens with the people who are following you. Like there's a loyalty, there's an engagement, there's a risk taking, there's a trust being given to you that doesn't exist if you're a knucklehead who steps on people to get to the next rung. The person who steps on people to get to the next rung can get their teams to do things, and they do it through power, they do it through authority, they do it because I said so.
Yeah.
Because I said so is not a way to gain loyalty. It's not a way to ensure engagement beyond the very specific thing you ask for. And it's not a way to get people to take chances, take risks, and innovate. It's just not. Because when you set up that position where my power is why you follow me, my authority, I said, and I'm the boss, and if you don't do it, then I'll do, that's going to get you compliance. That's it. And compliance in a safe way. So Sally and Bob, they might do what you're telling them to do, but they're not going to do an iota more. And the entire time they do it, they're going to make sure they cover their back and they don't do anything that's going to maybe make mistakes. And so I saw this as being true, that there's this edge, but the default condition being one of compromise. How do you get there, right? And so I in the book I focused on 6 stumbling blocks. I started with way more than 6 stumbling blocks. I trimmed it down to 6 that I think are critical, and it's about trust, and it's about pride, it's about fear, it's about disconnection or connection with your employees, your team members. It's about ambition. It's about toxic culture. So those 6 stumbling blocks, I believe those are 6 common things that you trip on.